endometriosis, cannabis, and CBD. This chronic condition affects millions worldwide, and it's a result of uterine tissue growing outside the uterus, causing pain, inflammation, and fertility issues. The menstrual cramps can be far worse than typical period pain, and there can also be pain during sex, as well as during bowel movements or urination. Fatigue and low energy levels are common, and mental health issues like anxiety and depression can occur because it just sucks so much. So today we'll cover the research on how it helps people and the science of why it works, plus one additional molecule that you might not have heard of before. I'm Lex Pelger. This is the Canna Education channel of CV Sciences, makers of PlusCBD. On the cannabinoids, ask me anything. For starters, I collected all of the relevant research and put it on a new page at CVResearch.info, which also includes the best charts that I could find on everything going on here. So for the good news, check out all of these surveys. To summarize all of them, the point stressed by all of the respondents was the help for pain. And with the known ability of cannabinoids to alter the transmission of pain signals, that makes a lot of sense. But there's also help for sleep, anxiety, and for GI tract symptoms such as nausea and vomiting, which are quite common. And the other point so often stressed was the ability to reduce the use of other medications, especially opioid painkillers, but also NSAIDs, antineuropathics, antidepressants, and hormonal therapies. Lastly, the adverse events were generally reported as transient and mild. Less work has been done on CBD specifically, but a number of reviews have focused on why it would be a good tool. And then there's this survey where over half the respondents reported CBD to be very effective or moderately effective at relieving pain. To understand the science of what's going on here, let's look at this chart found in a recent review. For starters, there are CB1 cannabinoid receptors present in the growth of endometriosis, suggesting them as a target for the disease. You also have CB1 receptor levels going up and down in people with this disease around the uterine area. And it would make sense that the CB1 receptors are involved because the highest concentration of CB1 receptors are in the uterus of a human. Finally, let's look at what's happening in the endocannabinoid machinery of people with endometriosis. For one, they have less levels of CB1 receptors, which means that you probably want to get other CB1 activating drugs into their system to help activate the receptors that they have. Also, they have higher levels of anandamide, which generally leads to more period pain. They also have lower levels of PEA, which leads to more pain during sexual intercourse. They also have higher levels of TRPV1, which is a vanilloid receptor, and that leads to greater sensitivity to pain. And finally, they also have higher levels of the second endocannabinoid, 2-AG, as well as anandamide, which is linked to higher levels of abdominal pain. So all of this leads us to believe that targeting the endocannabinoid system makes a lot of sense because it is involved on so many different levels of what's happening in this complex disease. Besides the THC and CBD, there's one other molecule worth considering, and that's PEA. This is an endocannabinoid-like molecule that's in every cell of your brain and body and is intimately tied up with your immune system. It is a fascinating molecule, and you can read my article about it here on Project CBD, and you can also find it in our PlusCBD relief capsules. In this study that used a rat model of endometriosis, treatment with PEA lowered their levels of pain, lessened the number and duration of their uterine crises, and made their cysts smaller. PEA seemed to be causing this help via the mast cells, which are important cells of the immune system. So, what's my advice on using these cannabinoids? It is difficult with endometriosis because of its complexity and how uniquely its presentation is in different people. But my general guideline would be, start with CBD and a hemp extract for 2 weeks. Always start low and go slow to make sure your body agrees with it. But most people should be able to take 50 or 100 milligrams per day within 2 weeks. The main negative to watch out for would be loose stools or somnolence, sleepiness. But those generally happen to kids with epilepsy or taking hundreds or thousands of milligrams of isolated CBD per day. But some people are sensitive. Once you have that baseline of CBD causing its anti-inflammatory and anti-anxiety effects, I would start with the THC. With this one, it's more important to start low because some people are sensitive to the psychoactive effects or they just detest the psychoactive effects. Take 1 milligram in the morning when you have nothing else to do just to see how it goes for you. But after that, you can keep increasing your dosage, and what you're looking for is a sweet spot where it's helping with pain relief, but the psychoactivity is not interfering with your day. Luckily, CBD seems to lower the psychoactivity of THC and protect from the anxiety effects that THC can bring out in some people. There's 2 main ways to be taking THC, and you might use both of them. For starters, an oil or liquid is good because while it takes an hour or 2 to get into your system fully, it also stays in your system longer and is a good tool for chronic relief. But for flare-ups of pain or other symptoms, vaping or smoking cannabis gets it into your system almost immediately. It also makes it easy to titrate your dose because once you take that sip off of your vape pen, within 2 minutes, you'll be as high as you're going to get. So just wait 5 minutes between each toke and then evaluate if you want another to help with symptom management. Finally, once you've seen how much relief you can get from THC and CBD, you can take PEA starting at hundreds of milligrams per day. It has a simply outstanding safety profile that is commented on in almost every research paper I've ever read about it. Because it works via the immune system, you might not notice the effects the very first day you take it, but I would buy a bottle and at least use up the whole bottle to see if that doesn't help with your symptoms. So, there are my thoughts on the basics of cannabinoids and endometriosis. As always, please feel free to ask me anything.